In Venezuela, the Supreme Court of Justice reported a 60% progress in the audit of the provided electoral material of the July 28 presidential elections. In India, the third summit of the Voice of the Global South, Cuba once again denounced the negative impact of unilateral coercive measures as an enormous obstacle to the full economic and social development of the island. In Russia, more than 1,700 people have been evacuated from the border areas of the Kursk regions in the last 24 hours amid the siege by the Ukrainian army. Hello, welcome to From the South. I am Irma Shelton from the TeleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. Stay with us. In Venezuela, the Supreme Court of Justice reported a 60% progress in the audit of the provided electoral material of the July 28 presidential elections. The minutes correspond to the last presidential elections of the July 28 were delivered to the Electoral Chamber of the Supreme Court of Justice by directors of the National Electoral Council. It is about the investigation of the electoral contention resource brought by President Nicolas Maduro to verify the results of the elections. The political parties supporting the former candidate Edmundo González were the only ones that did not submit the report's records. González also did not appear before the Supreme Court of Justice the day he was summoned. In the face of the discrediting campaigns in international media and social networks which built a parallel Venezuela, once again the Venezuelan people took the streets. More details with our correspondent, Gladys Quesada.
Thousands of Venezuelans held 100 marches this Saturday in the same number of cities, raising the symbols and the slogans that weeks ago were part of the campaign of the Great Patriotic Poll and now are part of the Chavista imaginary. The gallo pinto, the songs, the new slogans. The difference is that this time they assured what they have already decided, the civic will through the vote, and that the fascist outbreaks tried to deny them.
Bueno, aquí estamos para, entre otras cosas, para apoyar a nuestro presidente.
Well, we are here among other things to support our newly elected president Nicolas Maduro and to show the world and the empire that there are people here defending this election process that the right wing and the empire itself want to take away from us. That is why we the people are in the streets just as they are with their lies. They say that they won, we won with the truth, and that is why we are always in the streets saying that we are the ones who won. We won the people, we won the homeland. Nicolas Maduro won, and we are always in the streets supporting our president Nicolas, who is the one who guarantees us the peace, sovereignty, and freedom that we have.
Que nos garantiza la paz, la soberanía y la libertad que tenemos.
In this march, as a mosaic, there is a room for everyone: women, men, young people, the elderly, those who practice some faith, and those who simply bet on the future of Venezuela and reject violence.
We are marching in support of President Maduro, who was re-elected, and we have the conviction that he is the president, and that is why we came to support him, always.
To all the peoples of the world, Venezuela is the one we are showing. Venezuela is not the one shown by the right-wing, that of the coup, that of the neglect. Venezuela is different. Venezuela is the Venezuela that is showing Chavismo today, marching for peace and sovereignty.
In the Bolivarian nation, in spite of violent outbreaks and discredit campaigns, the revolution is already setting new goals, perfecting mechanisms, and looking ahead. Meanwhile, its people understand their circumstances and continue.
We are fighting for decent housing, for health care, for everything, because I know that our president is working for the people and we don't want violence. We want to continue moving forward. We don't want violence. We want a tranquility, a spiritual peace. We want peace for Venezuela, that the children in health, education, everything is ahead, that our president, I know that he is going to help us.
Well, right now there is no violence, but every time there is violence it is generated by Maria Corina and all her fascist combo, supported by the empire. They are the ones who generate violence, and President Maduro always calls for calm and peace. That is why we are still here with Nicolas Maduro.
Venezuela understands peace and knows its reasons to face violence with justice and integrity, especially in times where parallel realities are built in international networks and media that, by calling so much to the supposed democracy, want to deny the voice of those who march to raise it. Gladys Quesada, TeleSUR, Caracas, Venezuela.
The Bolivarian president has reiterated that he wants to get closer to religious groups such as the Catholic Church, because what is currently at stake is a struggle of good against evil, with leaders of the extreme right like Elon Musk and the purposes they defend and represent being members of the latter.
I would like to have excellent relations with the Catholic Church, and I'm going to do my best, because we are going to achieve it, with the priest of the base, with the parish priests, with the village priests, to unite the Christian, evangelical and Catholic people, as we must unite the people of Venezuela. When speaking of faith, compatriots, we are facing demons. When I say that we are facing demons, I am not exaggerating. They have a satanic pact with the Satanic Church of the United States. The Sayona wears a medallion and some strange things, because she has a pact with Elon Musk and the Satanic Church of Detroit. That is why I say that we are facing a satanic Goliath. Elon Musk was afraid. He withdrew from the battle. He did like the devil when Florentino arrived. Get out of here.
In the context of the Red Day of World Solidarity with Venezuela and peace, several countries expressed their support for the electoral victory of President Nicolas Maduro at the democratic process that took place on July 28th.
In Colombia, the movement in solidarity with Venezuela held an informative debate on the national situation in Venezuela, while in Chile, a group of leaders demanded President Gabriel Boric to recognize the legitimate triumph of Nicolas Maduro. In Paraguay, the electoral companies of the country in the electoral process of last July 28 subscribed a document congratulating Nicolas Maduro and the Venezuelan people for their democracy celebration. Meanwhile, in Cuba, a day of solidarity with the Bolivarian Revolution took place, led by several Cuban authorities. Social and political organizations of Grenada showed their support to the Venezuelan people in defense of democracy. Also, Petrocaribe workers in Dominique condemned the violence of the global extreme right against the Venezuelan nation. Social and political groups of Saint Vincent and the Grenadines mobilized against fascism and in favor of peace in Venezuela. In Vietnam, cultural and friendship groups participated in a forum on the presidential electoral process held on July 28. Likewise, in Kazakhstan, the foundation ambassadors of the year asked for respect for the Venezuelan sovereignty. From Egypt, groups in solidarity with the Bolivarian Revolution support the reflection of the Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. The people of Mali supported the South American country within the framework of the International Day for the Defense of Democracy. In this line, the Youth League of the Swampo Party in Namibia supported Venezuelan sovereignty in favor of peace and against fascism. In Spain, a day for peace and against fascism was held where citizens spoke out in defense of the Venezuelan democracy. While in the United Kingdom, a discussion was held for the respect of the sovereignty and independence of Venezuela. Lastly, in the Netherlands, citizens rallied to demand respect, sovereignty, and peace for Venezuela.
Now let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at TeleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome to From the South. In India, at the third summit of the Voice of the Global South, Cuba once again denounced the negative impact of unilateral coercive measures as an enormous obstacle to the full economic and social development of the island. These were the words of the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Bruno Rodriguez Parrilla, who participated via satellite in the event organized by the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi. The summit is an extension of the initiative inspired by Cooperation for All, Development for All, the aspirations of all, and the efforts of all. This important meeting was attended by all the countries of the South whose solidarity with Cuba was valued by the head of the diplomatic service.
In an increasingly interconnected world, the imposition of unilateral coercive measures constitutes a serious obstacle to the achievement of economic and social development. For more than 60 years, the Cuban people have been suffering the serious and negative effects of a suffocating economic, commercial, and financial blockade imposed by the government of the United States, which has been intensified to an extreme dimension since 2019.
In Palestine, a mission of the United Nations organizations has succeeded in visiting a devastated north of Gaza. The image of destruction and death shared by the humanitarian delegation correspond to the numbers that the whole world recognized except the United States, Israel, and Canada. The mission assures that more than 40,000 dead is a grim milestone for the whole world. In the records of the organizations, the numbers are overwhelming. In Gaza, 130 people have been killed or assassinated every day for 10 months. They have also ratified that the closure of the hospitals, the polio epidemic, and the humanitarian crisis jeopardize the truce that Gaza and the world are waiting for. In Palestine, in early Sunday hours, Israeli army troops killed around 20 people in the Gaza Strip, including several children, in a series of bombardments in the north center and south of the enclave. 4 people were reported dead in the northern Jabalia camp after Israeli planes bombed 2 apartments in the site created by the UN in 1948 to house citizens displaced by the conflict. Since October the 7th, more than 92,609 people have been injured, and thousands of Gazans are still missing under the rubble. These recent strikes raise the death toll of the Israeli occupation army's ongoing genocide against the Palestinian people to 40,099. At least 25 Palestinians have been detained by the Israeli army in the West Bank in recent days, according to reports by the Palestinian Prisoners Society, PPS, and the Committee for the Detainees and Ex-Detainees Affairs. The organizations informed that the arrests were accompanied by raids and assault of the detainees and their families, as well as extensive damage and destruction to their homes. In this regard, a report by the Israeli Information Center for Human Rights in the occupied territories, B'Tselem, states that the number of Palestinians in occupation prisons has doubled since the Israeli operation intensified on October 7 of 2023. The center denounced that thousands of Palestinians have been subject to the torture and arbitrary detention, suffering abuses at the hands of the Zionist occupation forces. In Israel, the government has withheld almost 6,093 billion shekels, equivalent to $2 billion in tax revenues from the Palestinians in recent years. According to the Palestinian Ministry of Finance, these measures aggravates the financial difficulties currently facing the Palestinian government. These withholding are part of the strategies of the Israeli regime to stop the Palestinian state from paying for services to employees and retirees in the Gaza Strip, affecting essential sectors such as health and education. This reduction in the delivery of Palestinian funds is based on the partial peace agreements of the 90s, according to which Tel Aviv collects taxes on behalf of the Palestinian Authority, to whom it should return them monthly.
For me, it's very important. We have to keep our democracy. We have to keep Israel free. We have to be here against the madness that is happening in our country. And that's it. Truthful. We have a prime minister that is not so much willing to release the hostages. He is not so willing to finish the war because he has his own interests.
We don't believe that the government is leading us to the right place. We don't believe in this government at all. We want our hostages to be back, and we want to find some sort of solution to what's happening here.
We cannot afford not to have hope. I cannot imagine the families of the hostages. I don't know how to survive. I have to have hope for them.
And let's go live to the electoral chamber of the Supreme Court of Justice in Caracas, Venezuela, to follow the ongoing auditing process being carried out by the legal institution. Let's go.
Que las actas que fueron transcritas en la fase número 1 del peritaje técnico coinciden con las actas recibidas en la base de datos de los Centros Nacionales de Totalización del Consejo Nacional Electoral. Esto garantizará que se ha mantenido en todo momento la integridad de los datos al demostrarse el 100%.
As we see, you see the image who are representing the technicals. Okay, well, we just have live contact with the Supreme Court of Justice of Venezuela. We have to remember that since Thursday, August 15, the president of the TSGA's electoral chamber, Carislia Rodriguez, informed of the beginning of the auditing of the electoral material in hands of the National Electoral Council used in the July 28th presidential elections. The magistrate informed that the electoral chamber is proceeding with the supervision and control of the process of the scrutiny of the materials that is at the disposals of the judicial instance and in custody of the National Electoral Council. Continue. We have to stay informed with TeleSUR English. We continue with more in the news. Welcome back from the south. In Russia, more than 1,700 people have been evacuated from the border areas of the Kursk regions in the last 24 hours amid the siege by the Ukrainian army. According to data from the Russian Emergency Ministry, the evacuations were carried out in 4 municipalities of the region where people were relocated to safe areas in an organized manner. The agency detailed that out of the evacuated, about 10,000 people, including 3,000 children, are in 174 emergency shelters spread over 24 regions of Russia. This comes in the midst of the Ukrainian offensive against the Kursk region, in which some 300 soldiers and 27 armored vehicles have been lost in the last 24 hours. In Iran, Hemataneh has become the 28th site to be recognized by UNESCO as a World Heritage Site, highlighting the historical importance of the city of Hamadan. This ancient site symbolizes the unity of the Iranian people, as well as being deeply intertwined with the Middle Persian and Sassanid dynasties. Historically known as Baktana, Hemataneh was the capital of the powerful Median Empire and later became a nerve center of the Achaemenid Empire. Despite its importance, much of this site remains unexplored, suggesting the possibility of future discoveries that could further illuminate the ancient history of Iran. UNESCO Listen not only celebrates the country's rich and extensive history, but also reaffirms its crucial role in the development of the region's cultural landscape. And we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I am Irma Shelton. Thank you for watching.